Welcome, welcome. In the official ears, eyes, and minds of everybody joining in here live today, we have a big group together. And everybody who's watching this recording, I want to welcome you to the Masterclass Awaken to Your Sacred Body. For those of you who don't know me or who don't know me that well yet, my name is June. I grew up in Switzerland. I have a background in graphic design and a bit of marketing. And in 2019, I made the bold and courageous decision to leave behind the security of my home country, to leave behind the security of having a 9-to-5 job, making steady income. And I decided to go somewhere else. I decided to move to Bali, Indonesia, and pursue what my heart really was seeking, which A was healing, B was the ocean and nature. I surf. And C was investigating what's actually happening with this body, with this lifetime. Because as you may know, when you grow up in a certain society at this day and age, we don't really talk a lot about healing, about mindfulness, about sacred body. And I just really wanted to start and investigate what's actually happening there. And my journey over the last 5.5 years has taken me through many, many trainings, retreats, both online and offline, as COVID has, supported a lot of online trainings. And eventually today I ended up as a healer, as a body worker, and as a practitioner of many different types of healing forms, such as yoga, meditation, and a little bit of shamanism recent times, some plant medicine work as well. So there's a lot of beautiful things. Over these last years, a certain concept has kept coming up into my awareness. And this is something that it's taken me a while to develop the right wording and to find the right ways to explain it. So what you're seeing and what I'm teaching you today is the result of years and years of refining the understanding of what the human body truly is about, which layers there are, and furthermore, how we all can access healing. And with healing, I mean healing from anything really. Healing from anything really. So what is your sacred body? And how does it awaken? It awakens when peace and harmony is established in all of your bodies. What does all of your bodies mean? Like some of you might be going like, I have one body. Like there's one body, right? Today I want to introduce you to a different concept, because today we're speaking of the 4 bodies. We're speaking of your mental body, your emotional body, your physical body, and the etheric energetic body. Your physical, mental, and emotional body, you might have heard of it a little bit already. You might have done some work on that. The etheric/energetic body is what a lot of people don't really know about. However, it is, in my experience, meanwhile, the most important one. So today I want to walk you through those 4 bodies and how we can start calibrating them to their highest potential to access and receive the highest quality of healing. So what is the mental body exactly? Your mental body connects to the plane of thoughts and beliefs. To open a little bit the conversation here, thoughts and beliefs, they are separate layers of your mental body. However, they are strongly connected because one builds the foundation for the other. Let me explain this a little bit more. You think, I would guess you do, right? And you're thinking right now, maybe many things, maybe just one thing. Really depends on how your mind is conditioned. Some people have a lot of thoughts at the same time, and some people can focus on one thought. For me personally, it took quite some time to be able to focus my mind on one thought. The thoughts that happen to you every single day, let's make a little guessing game here, actually. How many thoughts do you think in one day? Put that in the chat. Is it 10,000? Is it 20,000? Is it 100,000? Is it 5? Too many, Tim says. Gus says 10,000. A lot. 33,333. Absolutely. Every day I think that is 77,777 thoughts. 50,000. Yeah, well, we agree it's a lot. I can't tell you the exact number because it varies from person to person, but it's a hell of a lot of thoughts. And if you look back at today, or if this is morning time for you, you look back at yesterday and you reflect and ask yourself, how many thoughts did I think yesterday that you're still aware of today? Maybe you'll remember 30 or 40, right? You're not going to remember all of those freaking thoughts that you had. You're not going to do that. You'd be a living miracle if you would. So what's happening there? This continuation of thoughts, it starts shaping the mental body, and the mental body consists of your beliefs, essentially. What you believe is true and what you believe is false. So, to calibrate your mental body to its highest potential, we practice meditation and subconscious rewiring. Your beliefs, they start with the thoughts, as we established now, and then they start sinking deeper and deeper, because when a thought arises, you're most of the time aware of it, and then it goes somewhere, right? It just goes somewhere. It goes into your subconscious mind. So it starts sinking deeper and deeper into the lower parts of the iceberg. You all have seen this image, right? Like the iceberg, and you have the top of the iceberg that's above the water, and you have most of the iceberg, around 95%, that's below the water, below the surface, invisible, but there. So all of those thoughts that we think every single day, they start sinking into this subconscious part of our mind. And when we operate day in, day out, our mental body is active, and it's based on those subconscious beliefs, which started with a repetition of your thoughts. So you've been thinking the same thing over and over again. Let me just pick an example out of thin air. You've been thinking, life is unfair. I'm never really blessed. Life is unfair. And you reaffirm that thought by thinking that you're the victim of certain circumstances. Eventually, your belief of I am the victim sinks in so deep. I see Ayin has joined. Welcome, Ayin. Just going to ask you to mute yourself and use the chat function to communicate. It shapes this belief, and your mental body is the body that is built based on those beliefs, and you operate on them day in, day out. So subconscious rewiring in meditation is basically practicing to go back to these root thoughts and checking out, where did we trick ourselves into developing a belief that then shapes our mental body, our mental landscape, the environment up in here, that hard drive, the programs that are running on this hard drive up here. Before I move over to the emotional body, I'd love to ask you all if you understood what I explained about the mental body so far. Thoughts, reoccurring thoughts, do create the beliefs that you eventually operate from in your day-to-day life, and most of the time they limit us because we believe certain things aren't accessible to us, or we're not here on planet Earth to receive those things. And with that simple thing, the mental body, if you picture it like, your body, it walks away from the potential of living your life to the fullest. So the second body that I want to talk about is your emotional body, and what it is exactly. Your emotional body connects to the landscape of feelings and emotions. By the way, if you've been tricked into the belief that you don't feel, you're actually feeling numbness or apathy, which is also a feeling. Just putting that out there. If you're like, oh, I don't feel, you're feeling numb and you're feeling apathy. It's also a feeling. And how do we calibrate the emotional body to peace and balance, which is the ultimate goal that we're kind of all walking towards. We practice emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence means we get to know our emotional landscape, accept and release feelings. There's a really cool thing that I've been teaching for a while now, and you might have heard me teach or been in a masterclass of mine where I shared about this. And this is the teaching of Dr. David Hawkins, who has created the map of consciousness. The map of consciousness is basically a map that links to all the human emotions we can feel and experience. And it gives us a layout of understanding what emotion we truly feel, what feeling truly is alive. Furthermore, it gives us a formula to accept that emotion, which isn't always easy, is it? I just told my friend Ellie before that I had a moment where I was really angry a couple of months ago because the Wi-Fi wasn't working at the place where I was at. And I've been practicing emotional intelligence and letting feelings come in and flow out naturally for a long time. However, sometimes you kind of latch on to a feeling, right? And then that creates a little bit of a story, and that story keeps living, although the moment has passed. In my experience, it was, I've been telling the manager of the place I stayed to fix the Wi-Fi for 1.5 months. And he always said, yes, he never did it. Eventually, I had some important master classes like this one, and the Wi-Fi was still not working. And I was really angry for a whole day. Like, it took me like 12 hours to be with that emotion, to sit with it, to learn to accept it, and eventually to release it. So anger is a really challenging one, for example. It can also be pride. I'm better than the others. Most people live in a state of pride for years or most of their life. So we do calibrate our emotional body by getting to know our emotions, which is something we didn't learn at school. So we got to start learning it somewhere else. If you've learned that at school, tell me which school you went to. I'd send all of my children there if I had some at some point. What's the physical body? Well, you tell me. This is the body that most of us in today's society put our focus and awareness on. Advertisements keep pulling our attention to the physical body, right? It's about being more beautiful, being more aligned with beauty standards, being younger or looking younger, and all of that stuff. And it just kind of pulls us to the physical body. It's not good or bad. However, as you're learning today, it's not the only body that you're equipped with. It's not the only body that you're equipped with. So I was having a look at this yesterday because actually I was curious. We live in this physical body, but how aware are we actually of what's happening in there? So your physical body is an intelligent network of organs, bones, nerves, muscles, vessels, and glands. If you can name all of them, I'm going to let you act like all of the things that are in your body. If you can name all of them within the next 20 minutes, and you're not going to use Google or Chat GPT, I'll give you free access to all of the courses I'll ever create. We can't, right? There's so much to explore and to investigate. And then we go to seek advice from doctors or from physiologists to tell us what's actually happening in there. But shouldn't it be accessible for us to just feel what's actually inside of our physical body? To actually feel when we eat something, how it goes into our stomach and then into our small intestine and eventually into our big intestine and eventually it leaves our body again? We should. I believe we should. However, it does require practice to learn and sit with your body. And this is how we calibrate your physical body. We calibrate it to health and vitality. Here are two really powerful examples that I use when I work with clients or in group scenarios, group situations, is breath work and movement. Who of you guys here, I'm just curious, has been practicing breath work? From some of you know. Give me a yes in the chat if breath work is familiar to you. Well, Tim, I know that from you. Stefan, yes. With me, Amanda, you've done it. Gustav, yeah, actually, we did it for the first time for you. With me, Ellie, same. Daily morning routine, Isaac, perfect, right? And then there's movement. Joss says, yes, Ayn is familiar with breath work. I love a group of breathers we're having here. Yes, you also investigated that with me more, Josh. However, there is a lot to explore when it comes to the breath, and there is a lot to explore when it comes to movement. Stefan says, I used to dance in public. I love it, me too. The thing with movement here, and my approach to calibrating your physical body to health and vitality, is to learn how to move and to learn how to breathe, how your body it's originally intended to. And your body is such an intelligent system. It's so smart, we can't even explain it most of the time, right? We don't even understand what connects to what. If you click this button on your foot, it connects to this organ there, and that meridian activates and opens up. It's very intelligent, the system, and it knows what it needs. However, if we only put our focus on the physical body and we neglect the emotional and the mental body, which is one thing that I want to get to in a moment, they're all intertwined, they're all connected. They all rely and co-create with one another. So a thought of something might create the emotion that might move you to do breath work. Or it might create a sensation in your body that intrigues you to go surfing or go dancing or go jogging. So there's a whole play to learn and use this controller, this device, to optimize your body and essentially awaken to the sacred body. Yeah, explore your breath deeper and integrate aligned and natural ways to move your body is what I wrote here as well. This is really important because in my experience, for example, I used to play badminton for almost 10 years. And I'm sure some of you can relate. You were like in a club or in a like a sports club, and you were focusing on one thing and you were focusing on it so much that you were just in it to get better and better and better, right? And there was a certain responsibility and weight on my shoulders, at least, when I was training badminton. Eventually I wanted to get accepted in the national league team and, really like climb that ladder of a sort of career a little bit even. However, though, I was neglecting so much of what my body truly wanted. My knees were suffering. Badminton can be quite heavy on the knees if you don't stretch and recover properly after. So that's why I wrote here, we find natural and aligned ways to move your body, because your body is at a different pace and at a different stage than anybody else's body. So if you go to the gym and you try to follow XYZ workout, it might not be the thing for your body. If you have a good personal trainer, they will, tune in and see what's actually happening and needed. But in my practice and in my teachings and in my program, we find ways that are aligned and ways that feel natural, that feel easeful. People ask me if I work out, I say no. I just do what brings me joy and do what feels aligned with my body. Do you go to the gym? No, nothing wrong with gyms if you love gyms. But sometimes it might be a bit unnatural for your body to push yourself through these movements. And I hope this is what you've all been waiting for, because this is where things get really juicy and interesting. What is the etheric energetic body exactly? Now, before I go into this, I would love to ask you if you have heard this terminology before, or if this is completely new. Say yes in the chat if you've heard it before, or say new if this is a newer concept. Just want to see where everyone's at with this. New, yes, okay, new, Gus says, and Josh says yes. Newish, Tim, yeah, you're leaning in, Tim. Yes, you've heard of it, Isaac, amazing. Not new, just starting my understanding, yes. New concept, okay, Amanda has heard of it, okay. Mixed crowd here, which is great. So I'm going to explain this in a multitude of wordings, meaning if you're coming from a more realistic scientific point of view, you might start warming up to it and it makes sense. Or if you're coming from a completely woo-woo spiritual point of view, this will definitely make sense to you. So the etheric body, it connects to the astral planes and is your most powerful body. Astral planes, who has heard of the word astral, or who has heard of the word aura or energy field or the fifth dimension, the quantum field? These are all words that explain the space between time and space. So we're all made of atoms, right? And atoms, they move and they have a certain frequency, they have a certain motion to them. The density of an object or a thing is defined by how these atoms move and the space between those atoms. So the density of an object is defined by that. Now, there is a space between things, right? If I swing my arms here, I'm not hitting anything. So this is a lot of space. And the astral planes, they explain what is living in between that space. It's going to get a little woo-woo here, so I'm just going to ask you, if you're more scientific, to lean into this with me. It might and hopefully will start making sense to you. So in ancient scriptures, there is the explanation of 3 different astral planes. We have the lower astral plane, we have the mid-astral plane, and we have the higher astral plane. In other words, which you might recognize from certain religions, we have hell, we have earth, we have heaven. So the lower astral planes, and I'm going to start bridging the etheric body and the astral planes to your mental, to your emotional, and to your physical body in a moment. The etheric energetic body is capable of sensing and understands the language of these astral planes. So when people speak of, I'm just following a higher guidance, I hear voices of God, I see angels, or I just have an intuitive feeling that this is the absolute right thing to do, they are working more from their energetic and etheric body. The word intuition is also what is a strong bridge builder between your emotional body and your etheric body, right? Because sometimes your intuition tells you what is right or what is wrong without you actually being able to explain it. And this concept of the etheric energetic body explains it. So if we go back to the lower astral, the mid-astral, and the high astral. The mid-astral is where most of us are chilling out at. It's planet Earth. It's where we're hanging out, where we're doing our things. The higher astral is where the energies and the frequencies, the information of, let's call them ascended masters, shamans, animal spirit guides, all the things that we somehow pick up on in a certain shape, live. It's not that easy to explain, because it's not in the world of matter. So if you've taken plant medicine, or if you've had deep meditation journeys, or if you've been in one of my breathwork sessions or done a bodywork session with me, you might have sensed certain things. You might have even seen certain things. I remember Amanda, the beautiful deity Ganesha, showed up to you without having any clue what Ganesha actually is, what it looks like, and showed up to you, right? So the higher astral plane is where ascended masters that have walked the earth or not, can come from different planets, different systems. They've mastered to move through this 5th dimension and above and transmit energy, transmit information through that. You can imagine it like, a radio station that picks up signals. The signals, they are kind of floating around, right? And a radio picks them up and then plays it. Your etheric body is what starts picking them up, and then it translates to your mental body. It can come in shape of thoughts, or it translates to your emotional body. Essentially, all of that affects your physical body in the end. Physical body is the lost body that is being affected by what's actually happening in the mental, emotional, and the energetic etheric body. It's a really interesting concept. A lot of people think, oh, I'm having something in my body, I'm start to getting ill. No, that already happened in your mental landscape, your emotions that might not have been processed properly, and it just starts coming into your physical body as the last catalyst, the last part of the process to release it, to move through it. If it's a fever, great example. Rashid says, when you go into the sacred places, you can feel goosebumps. Yeah, I've had a couple of friends, actually, two I'm thinking of right now, which went to the birthplace of Jesus Christ, and they sat there and they meditated, and they were like, I had this vision of Jesus coming to me, right? And that can happen with like any ascended master that has kind of mastered the pathway to enlightenment. Again, if you've seen the previous classes I've hosted, or if you've been in a program of mine where I talk about the map of consciousness, which is one thing that I'm talking about in another program I'll talk more about in a moment, the pathway to ascension, the pathway to peace, joy, love, and eventually enlightenment. And the state of enlightenment starts transcending out of your body. That's why when somebody walks into the room that is living from a predominant state of peace and love, you can sense that usually, right? And you might explain it as, oh, this person just has an amazing energy. Because that's how you can explain that, right? Or that's just an amazing person. That's because they're living in that predominant state and they have started mastering this process of calibrating all of their four bodies to their highest potential, to peace, love, kindness, and enlightenment. So how do we calibrate the etheric body, the energy body, to its original vibrancy? We practice spirituality. Spirituality can come in many shapes or forms. I want to break this word down for all of you. Spirit. Spirit can also translate into the adjective spirited, which is very linked to the word devoted. You're devoting your energy, you're devoting yourself lovingly and passionately to a certain cause. And with spirituality, we choose a cause, or a cause chooses us. That can be explained of the first force of all creation and all its manifestations. The first force of all creation. Oh, I hear that I'm breaking. Anybody else picking up my signal not properly? If so, let me know. I can talk a little slower. Maybe that will help. Oh, okay, good. Where was I? Yeah, the first force of all creation and all its manifestations. The first force of all creation, people explain that as God, the universe, the creator, the creatrix. God can also translate to generation, order, destruction. So whatever type of, let's say, religious filter or belief in a higher force filter you have, I will be using the word first force of all creation, or God, and the manifestations or the mirrors of that. So the mirrors of that can be angel beings, archangels, light beings, ascended masters, prophets, Jesus Christ, Muhammad. Those are all mirrors that started translating the voice and the messaging of the first force of all creation, aka God, which always is about love, kindness, and compassion and peace. And the understanding and the integration of that is when we start reaching a state of enlightenment, because we realize the divinity, the divine, the sacred in everything. And the moment we realize that with all parts of our being, so you're not just thinking, oh, that curtain is sacred. That was a weird example. You're not just thinking, oh, this is sacred, but you're sensing it, you're feeling it, you're experiencing it. And then your sacred body awakens. And the spiritual practices, they help us calibrate and restore all our four bodies to their original template of health, joy, and peace. This is something that I've been investigating rather recently and really testing with which approach heals and calibrates all of our 4 bodies the fastest and the most efficient. And where I'm at today, what I'm realizing today and the times before today is when we go through finding an access to a spiritual practice that then starts raining and connecting to all the bodies, to a physical practice, a mental practice, an emotional practice, we calibrate our system. And with that, I'm talking about the very physical things of your physique, your physical body, the very mental things of your thoughts and beliefs. I talk about the state your emotion is in, your emotional landscape. So however approach you take, I would love to speak an invitation to play with leaning into this more spirited, spiritual approach, devoting to a sort of practice that brings all of them together. And there's a multitude of those practices. I've mentioned some of them before. With the spiritual practice, what we do, for example, is we work with your aura, cleansing your aura. We work with the chakra system, the same 7 main energy centers or energy discs that are connected to your physical, emotional, spiritual, etheric, as well as mental bodies. And through that, we start invoking higher guidance. That's where people start getting messages and shit gets a little crazy, right? And you can't really always explain where it's coming from, but somehow it feels trustworthy and it feels right. Because when we're walking through this calibration process, we're opening us up to the higher astral realms, which is, you know, heaven on earth. If we don't do that and we dabble with things like anger, frustration, desire, lust, pride, shame, and guilt, if we keep staying in cycles of those are the breeding grounds for the lower astral realms, which is in the Bible, for example, referred to as hell, which is where entity, demonic, negative spirits or energies reside. Certain drugs, alcohol, are catalysts. By the way, the word alcohol comes from the word al-ghul, which ghoul, if you look it up, it's a very creepy demonic spirit. And what is strong alcohol named after? Spirit. It's the fun fact nearby. Go and Google it if you have the courage. Where does the word alcohol come from? So the more we calibrate our 4 bodies with the practices that I teach and that I practice with my clients and my friends, the more we open to the higher guidance of the higher astral realms. The more we dabble with the lower states of consciousness and lower emotions, shame, guilt, anger, apathy, grief, not saying they're bad, just saying that when we stay stuck in them and we operate from them, which is not always apparent to the mind because it sits in the subconscious mind, the lower part of the iceberg, as you now know. The more we open up the space for certain demonic forces to start taking space in us, and the actions and behaviors we demonstrate, they are ours, but not only ours. They are also pushed and motivated by these lower forces. So this is the higher calling. We have to connect to light beings, ascended masters, deities, spirit guides, and essentially the first force of all creation. Because how the world is turning right now and the things that are happening may be on a micro or macrocosmos, what you're seeing in your surroundings and what you're experiencing in your country or on the world. There is still such a strong focus on what I want, what I need, what the ego wants, the best benefit of the self, greed, pride is dominant. So there's a lot of these like lower heavy forces, lower density, lower astral things at work. And that's why we're sitting here today. Because I've been invited and I've been like called and motivated both by myself, by my highest self, and by some sort of higher guidance to start sharing more about this stuff. to start really getting our asses into practicing this alignment with deities, with the higher forces at work, because they outshine the darker forces. They don't make them go away, they will exist. But we have to start choosing what world do we live on and what do we operate from. So the higher self-alignment is the last part of this process here. We practice and devote to calibrating to your original template, and we activate through that your I am God presence. This might sound cocky if you're hearing this for the first time, but your I am God presence is the realization that you are a being of love and light, and that you are here to expand all of your actions, behaviors, thoughts that you're experiencing, emotions that you're feeling, that they need to start connecting to the presence of love, kindness, care, peace. And that is what we call the I am God presence. You're realizing that you're also a mirror, you're also a reflection of the divine, the first force of creation. Right? You're accepting that, you're letting that in, and that will then infiltrate your system and allow you to make greater choices for the good of everyone and everything. This means, as I said, we start dissolving any misqualified information in your 4 bodies. And that starts opening life up to a series and a multitude of miracles. Bringing love and kindness to all of you and accepting the divine path you are here to walk. Because there is a higher purpose for all of us here. It's just a question of, getting that radio signal here to pick up what that higher purpose truly is all about. And we can open that radio signal, the full potential of our mind, by calibrating our four bodies. So when we do that, what seems unachievable becomes reality, and you live from a place of peace, joy, love, and flow. That's what it then starts feeling like, and what you're living from. And so if this is kind of getting you fired up and you're like, this makes sense, right? Like, it speaks not only to your mind, but it speaks to your heart, to your cells, to your being. I want to share with you what I've been called to do. Been called to run a program, and I've been called, so let me explain how this happened so it doesn't sound too far out there. It's been 5.5 weeks, I think now, where I was sitting in the morning in very deep meditation. I was using mantras to chant, which are Sanskrit words, and I got into this trance state and stuff, and I was just there, and it was maybe 45 minutes, and eventually I kind of came back, and I was like, whoa, there was so much information. I took my journal out, and within 5 minutes, I wrote down a layout for what I need to do with a group of people. And the layout was called Awaken to the Sacred Body. I might have shared the message that I've written down with some of you on WhatsApp already. I know some of you have read it, right? So essentially what's going to happen, and we're starting in about 2 weeks, a 4-month container is opening up. There's going to be 13 group settings in this format here, where I'm going to walk you through the calibration of your 4 bodies to their highest potential. And next to that, we'll have 3 one-on-one sessions. On my website, which I'm going to share in the chat with you right now, you can open it and have a look at it now or after this class. In the Awaken to the Sacred Body program section on my website, I explained the whole process, like the step-by-step, what we're doing in every group session and what we're doing in the one-on-one sessions. If you've worked with me, you might catch the vibe already, you know a little bit of what's coming. And meditation, breathwork, chakra alignment, movement medicine, aura cleansing, and more. That's what we're going to be doing. That's what the main focus of these 4 months is going to be all about. And I know some of you in here are joining. I know Tim, you've devoted. Amanda and your husband, I'm still talking to you, so I want to figure out the details there soon. And everyone in here, if this resonates with you, I would love to have you in this space and walk you through this. The most exciting part for me with this whole program that's coming up is, compared to other programs that I've ran in the past, you might remember, Ellie, for example, you were part of one of the first group coaching programs I've ever run. It was called the Changemaker program. It was always like me and what I learned and the teachings that I could comprehend consciously and present and teach. With this one here, it's going to be that, plus I'm going to start leaning in more to this channeling situation of like really calling in higher guidance, really calling in higher support. And for those of you that have done sessions with me, for example, the Sacred Healing Ritual Sessions, which is a 4-hour in-person immersion, or you've sat in a breathwork group container, I've been invoking these higher forces to work with me. And I know that some of you have experienced them, sensed them, felt them, seen them. So in this group container, over those 4 months, we're not only going to lean on what I've learned and what I'm teaching, which is Joe Dispenza meditation formula, emotional intelligence, breathwork practice, yoga teachings from breath to movement, mindful movement, trance dance, ecstatic dance, all beautiful, cool, fun things. Really, really cool tools to have in your tool belt. But furthermore, I'm going to tune in and we're going to connect with those higher beings. So I do expect some crazy things to happen in those 4 months. And yeah, the invitation is open. There's a link that I've put in the chat here as well. It's a call link, a Calendly link. You can schedule a call with me there to talk more about it in person. There's a sliding scale on money side of terms, because if I put my time, effort, and full focus into this, I also obviously need to be secure and live. So there is a money exchange. However, I felt this clarity on money should not be the block for anybody to be able to join. If people have the money, there is a fixed sliding scale that's written on the website that I would love for you to stick to. But if there is really no capacity financially right now, and you're like, this is, I want to be part of this, I feel this, we can talk. We can talk. I need you to know this. There's a lot of people out there that run programs that are expensive, and that's great as that is. This is the first time I'm running this program. In the business language, we call this a beta version, right? Like the first round of something is a beta version. So this will be the beta version of this program. That's why the payment is in sliding scale format. And I'm actively saying to you, you have the option to talk to me and to tell me what's available if you really want to join this, and we find a way to make it work. So yeah, that's all that I wanted to share with you for today. I think we're good in the time frame as well. Good prediction time-wise, huh? Well, I would love to open the space for you all. You can use the chat since we're so many in here. If you do have any questions, may it be on the mental, emotional, the physical, or the etheric, energetic body, some unclarity that still remains, feel free to put it in the chat, have a little conversation about it. And if everything else remains clear, I'm looking forward to talk to some of you, because I sense that some of you will be part of this program. There's this, it's not a forceful urgency, but I can feel like this is very important for the times ahead coming. And it's not something I can fully explain yet. It's really like a sensation in the body and a feeling. Seeing Ayin says, thank you for this. I'm looking forward to have more conversations about this. Yeah, it's so in depth, huh? Same, I'll be in touch with you, Ayin. Stefan says, great presentation, and we'll definitely be scheduling in a time to call. Yes, we will talk, Stefan. Absolutely. I think you'll be in this group. We'll make it work. Have to be in there. Yeah. As I said earlier, this recording will be on my website. So if you want to go back, it's been a lot. I've been talking a lot. So there might be like little snippets that you want to rewatch to like really absorb them, you know, and like sink your claws and teeth into them again. Feel free to share. I'll be sharing the link on social media to the recording of this class. If you think and if you feel like this was super dope and you want more people to hear about this, please share it. Help me spread the word. Lilu said, appreciate your divine service to awaken more bodies. Thank you. Thank you. Right back at you. And Amanda says, let's chat soon after I talk to hubby. Husband, hubby. Absolutely. Thumbs up from Josh. Thank you as well. From Italy. You're in Italy, I love that. Oh, thank you, Ellie. Thank you. All right, if no other questions remain, I will stop the recording.